Welcome. Welcome, everyone. It's Angelo Robles. And if you're live, it is Tuesday at about 11:30 a.m. I have something that I've been really looking to get off my chest. Now, I did a program that was a little bit related to this last week, but it was like I can be sometimes, a little impromptu, and I wanted to flesh it out and give it more thought. So, without further ado, the last family office? What comes next? The org chart, I argued, is already obsolete. So what is the family and really a family office for? As I referenced, a week ago, I made the case that the org chart is already obsolete. But I kept thinking, because that argument, as true as it is, still frames it as a loss, and I didn't like that. What if it's actually more of an invitation? Today, I wanted to make the case that the families who see this clearly aren't losing a structure. Don't look at it that way. They're building something the world doesn't really have a word for yet. So, from my perspective, the honest framing that I don't think most advisors or family office consultants will give you, or just simply don't know, the family office as it currently exists is a human solution to a human bottleneck. It exists because talented people with specialized knowledge are scarce, loyalty is scarce, discretion is scarce, and coordinating complexity across legal, financial, accounting, operational, relationship, or relational domains simultaneously requires expensive human judgment applied continually. AI eliminates most of that scarcity within a decade, flat out. Not partially, not in the junior roles while the senior roles stay intact. Across the whole stack, the analyst, the controller, the tax strategist, the compliance officer, where applicable, the investment researcher, the estate planner. They're all knowledge workers doing pattern matching and synthesis work in kind of a structured domains. That is precisely what AI does best and is already better at than most of the humans currently drawing compensation, so to speak, to perform it. The families that understand this are not as worried. The families that don't are building teams, locking in compensation structures, and investing in technology implementations that will look like category eras. Forget 10 years, in 6 to 8 years. It's not a maybe, it's a matter of when. I could be imperfect on my timing. I don't think so. Some people, like Dr. Alexander Wisnergross, think my timing is way too slow. It's going to happen sooner. What survives the transition and what doesn't? Here is the part no one in the traditional kind of family office advisory world says clearly. Most of what a family office does today survives only as automated infrastructure. I'm sorry, not in the way we're thinking about it as human employment. What actually survives in the human form is smaller, in some ways stranger, and more important, there's hope here than what exists now. Judgment at the boundary conditions, the decisions where the answer is not derivable, if I make up my own word, from data, where values and mission and risk tolerance and relationship consequences intersect simultaneously. AI will bring extraordinary clarity to these moments. It will lay out the landscape, sure, model the scenarios, map the second order consequences, very important. The human sovereign is then required to make the call that no model relatively near future should make. Not because the human is smarter, it won't be, but because the human is accountable and the mission is theirs. I'll begin a little bit with relationship sovereignty. The rooms that don't have a guest list, the relationships that are not transactable, the trust that is not able to purchase. These become more valuable as AI commoditizes everything else. When any family can generate, any family, a sophisticated investment thesis, the advantage migrates entirely really to only think about it: execution, access, and the relationships that make access possible. The family's building sovereign networks now, not LinkedIn networks, not conference relationships, actual governance relationships with people writing the next, or we got almost 75 years left in this century. This century's rules are building the one AI cannot simulate. How about also cultural authorship? Who the family is, what it stands for, why it exists, what is it building towards? This is not a branching exercise. It is the constitutional act that determines every downstream decision. In a world where synthetic intelligence can execute almost anything, the question is not, can we do this? It's, what are we for? The families that have answered the question with real precision have an organizational coherence that no amount of AI capability can substitute for. The families that haven't are just capital looking for instructions. What I call now a layer 3, the civilizational portfolio. Assets chosen for a world that doesn't exist yet. This layer is not operational. It's strategic and philosophical. It is a layer most family offices never had because they were too busy managing the complexity of the present to design for the structure of the future. Now, civilizational portfolio is the family's deliberate accumulation of positions in the specific forms of scarcity that survived labor to zero and energy to zero transitions. And those days are coming. These are not financial positions in the conventional sense. They're claims on what matters when conventional scarcity is gone. Gone. Sovereign rights and access. Stay with me. Sovereign rights and access. Relationships with the bodies writing the rules of the new economy, including off-world, yes, literally, governance frameworks that will determine property rights over resources whose value I can't calculate now. Helium-3 deposits on the lunar surface, metallic asteroid extraction rights, cislunar logistics infrastructure. These are not speculative investments. These are the 21st century equivalent of the land grants, creating the dynasties of the 19th century, available to those early enough and patient enough to establish position before the legal frameworks crystallize and exclude latecomers permanently. Another one, biological capital. The family's longevity, infrastructure, genetic heritage, cognitive enhancement programs. Understood, not as personal health choices, but in some ways, capital allocation towards the asset that makes all other assets meaningful. A principal who is 58 in 2026 and has access to serious longevity protocols, they're not planning a 25-year time horizon. They're planning an 80-year horizon. And every investment decision, governance structure, and legal framework should reflect that reality rather than mortality assumptions baked into a previous era's planning tunes. And what is that going to do to the rising gen governance passing the torch? Well, We got a big discussion ahead of us in the future. This comes down all to authentic human experiences at scale. In a world where AI generates unlimited synthetic content, genuine human creativity, presence, and experience becomes the ultimate luxury and the ultimate form of cultural influence. The family that owns the institutions of authentic human experience, the physical venues, the artist relationships, the cultural assets that can't easily be replaced, owns something no model can replicate and no amount of synthetic generation can displace. Now, I'm on a roll here. Proprietary intelligence, not data. There's a difference. Not data, which is abundant, but the synthesis of relationships, pattern recognition, contextual judgment that produces genuine informational advantage in closed markets. This is the family's AI ecosystem combined with its human sovereign network, producing intelligence that no commercial platform can access and no competitor can purchase. Now, there is a meaning problem that nobody is talking about. And here is what the operational conversation, when we focus on that, obscures. AI doesn't just eliminate jobs inside the family office or traditional org chart. Sure, it eliminates the psychological scaffolding that organized the principal's identity. Think about it. So, managing complexity was meaningful. Stewardship, or the stewarding of relationships, was meaningful. Building the team, developing the people, solving the hard problems. These were not just functions, they were the very texture of life well spent. AI takes most of that texture away and hands the principal something they may not be prepared for. How about radical freedom and radical purposelessness at the same time, simultaneously? The families that navigate this well will have done the philosophical work in advance. They will have defined the mission not as an aspiration, but an operating system. And one thing that doesn't change while everything else evolves around it, the mission gives the principal something that AI cannot: a reason to exist that isn't derivable from optimization. The families that haven't done that work will find themselves extraordinarily liquid, extraordinarily capable, and extraordinarily lost. Wealth without mission and a purpose in a post-scarcity world, that's not going to feel like freedom. It's going to be the most gilded form of drift ever constructed. The specific mistake almost every family office makes now, taking this back in. They hire for the org chart that even 18 months ago made sense. They might even bring in a chief AI officer whose mental model is still enterprise software deployment. They build AI tools on top of legacy organizational structure and describe it as transformation. It's not. They treat whatever the 5, 7, 10, 12, 20 human roles as destination rather than the current best approximation of an answer that will need to be rebuilt again, if I listen to Dr. Alexander Wisner-Gross, in maybe 18 months, maybe 36 months. The families actually ahead are doing something that looks almost irresponsible in the traditional sensibility. I get it. They're building organizational impermanence into the design itself. They are telling humans in sovereign roles that their highest success condition is making their own role unnecessary. Building AI infrastructure that justifies the human stepping back to a purely boundary condition of governance. They are building frameworks that assume the structure will look fundamentally different because they know as such. Let's even go 36 months out, 3 years, and creating decision processes for navigating that redesign with intention rather than crisis. They are treating the enterprise not as an institution to be preserved. That's the wrong approach, but as a living system to be continuously evolved, holding mission and values, of course, is permanent, while treating every structure, every role, every process, every technology as provisional. The question underneath everything we keep asking, and was in my subtitle, what is the family for? As if it's a philosophical endpoint, but it isn't. It is the most actually operational question at the table. Families with genuine clarity about what they are building make better decisions at every layer. The mission defines which AI capabilities to develop. It defines which sovereign relationships matter. It defines which longevity timeline is actually required to see the work through. Think about it. It defines whether off-world infrastructure, I know I'm getting a little out there with some of you, is relevant or irrelevant in a 100-year plan. The mission is not a value statement for the website. It is the constitutional document of a living system, the one input that doesn't change while everything else evolves around it. The families that have answered it are already operating at something that existing vocabulary, like I said earlier, I don't really have a word for it because it's not a family office, not a foundation, not a corporation, not even a sovereign wealth fund. It's something new, a post-scarcity civilizational unit with a mission, a living intelligence infrastructure, a sovereign human core, and positions in the form of scarcity that will define control, power, and meaning, maybe for the next 100 years. The families that haven't answered it are still debating the org chart. The distance between those two positions is growing faster than anyone in the traditional, which is everyone, traditional family office space is willing to say out loud or capable. And ignorance here is not a neutral condition. It compounds exactly like everything else in this world. So, kind of where this goes next, we are entering territory for the traditional family office world that it really has no map for. The transitions described here are not theoretical. They're already underway. And the families positioning for them are not waiting for a consensus or conventional wisdom to catch up. What this moment requires is not more consultants, advisors, employees per se. It requires a network operating ahead of the curve, one with sovereignty, AI blueprints, the peer intelligence, and proprietary frameworks that are forged inside the ecosystems that have already or are already beginning to navigate what most family offices haven't yet imagined. And yes, that is the architecture of my private intelligence and strategy community, SFO Continuity, a membership of upwards of 100 incredible family offices, and proprietary content thinking roundtables dedicated to them. And these are frameworks that are already being developed inside effectively a 100 billionaire quote unquote ecosystem that are not available anywhere else. Hey, I know I could get a little passionate. Maybe I got to adjust my mic. I'm probably getting a little loud. This is a subject that I started beating on 18 months ago, picked up the pace about a year ago, and have been pretty relentless, especially over the last 6 to 8 months. I know I'm directionally correct. We could debate some of my timelines. And I'm going into this with a little bit of fear and unknown, of course, as well. I'll be impacted relative to what I do. My son, who has a future ahead of him. One of the things I recommend for the families and for the family office executives that are part of my community, I want your children, I want your grandchildren to attend, to be immersed in our content that you could share, our forums, and my master classes that I host. They are absolutely the future. And I want to help. I want to be of value. My message today to some might have been enlightening, might have been shocking, and to others may have been gravely concerning. I understand. I'm a 60-year-old person. The ability to evolve and adapt does become harder as we develop a level of our skills that have utility, our experiences, and our successes tend to anchor us a little bit in how things are now or how they're always going to be. They're just not. The industrial revolution, what I think I heard someone, it might have been Dennis Sasabis, like it evolved over 100 years. And what we're seeing now is his words, 10x as consequential at 10x the speed. The train has left the station. Many of you heard my February more tech AI update. Go back and check my Ad Family Office on YouTube that you didn't. February was like a month like no other. From the Mexican hack to the advancements in all the frontier platforms, to what China's doing, to what we're seeing play out with the Department of War here in the US with Anthropic, to the advancement of Perplexity Computer, more coming of age of OpenClaw. I mean, it was kind of a moment. It was wow, what a time. Like, I'm just saying, maybe the timelines are a little off. In some ways, I certainly hope so. But directionally, we know this is accurate. There are adaptations that we need to move forward on. And again, what I always say is if I could do it, an average person who's older, who was set in his ways, I have resilience. I got that. But that problem, I got courage. I got the gumption to take action and move forward. But you all probably have greater skills. You could do it. I could take the hundreds and hundreds of hours that I put in and the luck that I have knowing an incredible network around the world and bring it to you for you to form your own thesis and make your own decision. Don't get anchored in my thoughts. Don't get caught in an echo chamber. But I just look at what's going on in the family office world now, and I think the majority are so well-meaning, but I think they're so ignorant and so behind on these issues. Like, it's just shocking to me. I feel like I'm out there all alone. Whether I'm going to be right, well, time will tell. And in my examples, probably sooner rather than later. So being a part of what I built, I know I did a little bit of a promotional type video yesterday, but I love what I do, what I've built in my private community. And in talking about my Palm Beach program, it simply literally is 4 days beginning March 16th that could change everything. Because a lot of the incredible thought leaders that I referenced and some I didn't reference are going to be there. Most of them not just for a session and go or a day or go. They're going to be there for most of them a 2 to 4 day window. They're going to be ingrained and you're going to meet them. You're going to interact with them. You're going to hear amazing thoughts, arguments, debates. I'm not afraid to be a little confrontational. And my guests who go up on stage, they know that. I'm not there to kiss their butt. They may whip me, they may be right, but we're there to uncover what we deem to be the truth, what we deem to be ways that could get us to think, to form our own thesis. And I want it to be something special for my members who are part of my community that are coming from around the world, that in under 2 weeks are going to join me in Palm Beach. But of course, membership is far more than 4 days. But if it was just that and you were there, it would easily be worth it. But my programming around the world, my proprietary 700-page handbooks, my content, my multitude of private books and private videos, and the real important one that I did 3 times last year and going to repeat multiple times this year, my AI Family Office Masterclass with the best instructors in the world, dedicated to investments and family offices. Very, very targeted. And again, if I could do it, if I could build AI agents, swarms, have them orchestrated, and I'm creating apps sometimes every day, imagine what you could do. Imagine with the right guidance or AI integration engineer. This is a chance for you to secure your position in the community, your gainful employment, and you're going to be the person who's going to be future forward in whatever role in the community that you think is going to be valuable. So, sure, did I go a little out there today on a limb? I probably did. And that video is going to be up unless YouTube takes it down. They actually took down 5 of my videos in the last 4 or 5 months. Like, I have no idea why. Who knows? But we could look at this in 6 months, at the end of the year, a year from now, 2 years from now. I've done this before. Where was I right and where was I wrong? Even if it's about 50-50 and that timeline is not quite enough to really have this play out, 18 to 36 months, I think, will be very intriguing. Even if I am half right, what does that mean? George Soros, I can't believe I'm quoting George Soros. We couldn't be on further political perspectives, but an incredible investor. I got to give my credit where credit is due. It's not how often you win or lose. I could be right 90% of the time, but they're on inconsequential things. And the 10%, like someone in poker or gambling would understand. Not that I know too much about that. A little in poker. That ratio doesn't really matter. How much you win when you win and how much you lose when you lose. I could be right maybe only 10 or 20% of the time, but if there's such big directions, that's what matters. So here I am, yet again, alone in this push to the future forward in AI, and afraid of some of the things that I'm seeing and how the world is playing out. I mean, why am I stuck in my head of enjoying geopolitics and macro? It's just torture coupled with AI. I'm in the fire. Now, there were a good number of comments. Charles, you are always the best, aren't you? Let's take a look at some of the. Okay, I see some probably more comments than questions. Charles did note, I totally disagree with Dr. Alexander Wisner-Gross on many points, especially in his approach to Frederick Soddy's wealth, virtual wealth, and debt. A radical critique of conventional economics. Charles, you are always awesome with comments. You look like you're probably a little too smart for me. Make sure I never debate you. But really good comments today in the comments. I greatly appreciate it. And again, any of you can reach out to me via DMing me, direct messaging, and social media. Probably LinkedIn, maybe X would be the best for that. Follow me across all my socials. And if you really, no matter where you're coming in from, you're an entrepreneur, you're a principal of wealth, you're a rising generation, you're an executive in the industry, I know my membership could help you. And right around the corner, a chance to meet in person at my largest marquee program over 4 days. I'm going to be there for 7 or 8 days. Oh, come on, there's some of the best cigar bars in the world. Churchill Cigars on Worth Avenue, giving you kind of my secret location now. And I don't mind a little bit of poker and fun at Davidoff Cigars as well at the at that Hard Rock Casino in Hollywood, Florida. So always great to be in South Florida. Lots of travel upcoming here in greater rural Connecticut, Jackson Hole, Wyoming upcoming, and a trip to the Milken Conference and various member lunches I'm hosting and things I'm doing there in May. So this is going to be an incredible year. I was on stage in Palm Beach last year and told many of you my futuristic hat, what was going to happen. I was about 50-50. But again, I go back to what did you miss for what I was right on, and how consequential could that be for your family and your family office? I guess I got all sorts of comments coming in. I usually miss the show. Charles, I think you mean I do a lot of things live and impromptu. This one I planned out a day or two ago, but I just put it on my socials about half an hour ago. Now, in theory, you should have your notifications on YouTube and LinkedIn, but I find that to be very random. And sometimes it's the decision of the platforms who they want to promote. So for these digital programs, I usually do one or sometimes two interviews a week. I'll do one or two solos a week. When I'm traveling, I'll do much less. But there's also times where I do 3 or 4 in a week. I don't find many people doing many solos in the family office world. That doesn't mean that I don't think they're smart or have something to say. It's just not their thing. So it's a little bit of one of my calling cards. Again, I'm willing to put myself out there, and I'm a wrong my fair share. I do understand it. Damn it, I'm just not wrong on this with AI and family offices. You're only allowed to bait me on my timeline. It on my website, and even on my website at angelorobles.com, I don't go too much into the digital. It's more the core philosophies I believe in, what I do, my experiences in the industry, some of my speaking roles around the world when I travel, and really my focus on membership. So I think there's tremendous value in going to angelorobles.com and in my events tab. And I keep that a little vague sometimes, but it gives a little bit of a calendar for some of the events I'm doing this year. I don't like to list the agenda for what I'm doing in Palm Beach, because a lot of the, like 70% of my speakers are actual families, incredible entrepreneurs in family offices. They don't want their names so publicly out there. So I keep that a little more under wraps. My members, of course, get all of it. So DM me, email me, angelo@angelorobles.com, call me, text me, yell at me, disagree. I want to hear a lot of the opposing perspectives. I don't look to be caught in echo chambers. It probably sounds like I do, but I promise that I don't. And yes, I am enthusiastic when I talk about what I do, and that membership and immersive and peer-to-peer and face-to-face, not only digital, and being hands-on with like the best family office fixers and thinkers in the world, which is what I am convening in Palm Beach, and variations of that I did in Miami, we'll do in LA, we'll do in New York, we'll do in Vienna. We'll see about my Middle Eastern trip in October, that may be, and I've been invited to speak at 1 or 2 things there. So let's see how that plays out. Again, I got a great live guest tomorrow, David Moscato from Europe, joining me at 11 o'clock Eastern, and we are going hard. A little bit of geopolitics, a little bit of that is history, family history, how families survive generations, his experiences in Europe, some of the most iconic names and brands in the world, and mitigating risk through owning banks and insurance companies, or controlling banks and insurers, VC tech, AI. Like, I don't know how we're going to get all that in 1 hour. Maybe he'll give me an hour and 20 minutes. So Got a lot going on. Again, learn more, follow me on social, join, be a member. We are very different in the family office community. And going even a little bit back to my event beginning March 16th in Palm Beach, like 60, 70 real investors and family offices. I only got two sponsors. Maybe I get one more. And like three or four other more thought leader speakers. My ratio, not only is it a five-star venues and settings over multiple days, not only is it, I think, like the best agenda over multiple days in the industry, that's very much 98% non-conflicted. I have an incredible ratio. The quality of my families to others, the volume, it's incredible. And I know many of you go to things that aren't so incredible and it kind of sours you on the industry. If you're not paying as a family, like what do you expect? You're going to get heavily sponsored content because you're the appetizer, you're the dessert. You got to reverse that and spend money to have the value of a true community and membership organization and higher level events where hopefully you 10x, 100x, 1000x what you pay into it. Enough. I got things to do, more things to write, a cigar to smoke. So I'll take one quick look. Oh, Charles, I didn't know you're from Vienna. So I love Vienna. My good friend Alexander Galambos in the family office world is there. It's a beautiful city. I have the world's best hot chocolate, Wiener Schnitzel, and other goodies and incredible people. And I know some of you think I kind of crap on Europe a lot. I don't mean to. There's so many things about Europe, and lumping it in, it's unfair. Like Austria, Italy, UK, Finland, they're all awesome in their own way. They're all different, and I greatly enjoy so much going there. I just think there's so many things they F up. But, and many of you have heard my conversations on that, especially the ones we do live in debating format in person. Uh, you're very kind. I'm probably going on too long now. And me using F bombs and things like that means I'll get even more marginalized by the platforms. So now I'll get like 20 viewers, not 300. We shall see. I got to have Alexander Wisnergross on. That was my most watched video in probably 2 years, probably about 37, 38,000. I got to get Michael Saylor on. That had about 300,000. But I've been knocking on Michael's door for like a year now, and his team tells me, like, reach out again in 2 weeks, in 2 weeks. And I don't know, the 2 weeks seems to stretch on. Anyhow, I appreciate all of you. I'm Angelo Robles. Thank you so much. Do subscribe, do reach out, do go to my website, angelorobles.com. The weather, I hopefully starting to thaw a little bit for many of you here in kind of rural New England. I'm looking outside now. Damn it, it's snowing. But I think that's kind of cool. Eventually, I'll get tired of it, but I'll be in Palm Beach in a week and a half, and that'll be fun. Thank you all so much, everyone. Appreciate you.